New crew, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Cassandra and today we are restocking from our bulk dry goods and refilling them so that we can get them back upstairs in the working pantry. If you're new, I keep all of my bulk goods downstairs in my basement in 5-gallon buckets. I buy all of my dry goods from Sam's Club currently, and it's just time to do a little bit of a restock. I live in Wisconsin, and headed into November is when things really get cold. We get a lot of snow. I live about an hour away from my Sam's Club, so I like to go into winter with a full winter's worth of dry goods. That way I don't have to worry about driving there in the winter and in the snow or whatever kind of conditions may be. Also, that being said, if I do a once-a-month grocery shopping, so if we get a snowstorm towards the end of the month and I need to wait an extra couple days for my road to get plowed out, for roads to be salted and things like that, I have these bulk items to be able to get me through those extra couple days, and it won't be that big of a deal. So we are restocking, but we're also taking a little bit of inventory in these 5-gallon buckets. I have regular all-purpose flour, bread flour, rice, and sugar. And then you see we're going to be bringing up our entire sugar container and our blackstrap molasses to restock our brown sugar. I started making my own brown sugar earlier this year. I really like it. It's super easy and just one of those things that I think is going to save me a lot of money in the long run with how much brown sugar we use. So I've really been loving that. And just within a couple of minutes, we had our brown sugar restocked, all of our containers filled, and I knew what I needed to get during my big Sam's Club haul that we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks. This morning we went ahead and refilled all of our baking goods, which is great. Now we are going to go ahead and make some things for after school snacks and lunch boxes. We're actually going to go ahead and start. I want to do 2 different batches of cookies today. I think we're gonna do cowboy cookies and chocolate chip. Maybe I wanted to do oatmeal raisin, but I think I'm gonna wait on that. I'm the only one that likes oatmeal raisin, so that'd just be more for a me thing, but I think maybe I can do that another day. I have about 45 minutes or so before my big kids get off the bus, and I just laid my baby down for a nap. So this is what I'm doing during nap time today when my house is completely quiet and all 4 of my kids are either at school or napping. So we're gonna make use of all of our fresh baking supplies. I will link my cookie recipes down below. I know we're heading into the holidays and cookies are gonna be a lot more of something people are looking for. So I'll put those recipes down below so you have a chance to try them for the holidays, but these are probably our two most remade cookie recipes. So let's go ahead and hop in. I think we'll go ahead and start with just plain. You know what? I'm kind of thinking, sometimes I have a plan and then I get in the kitchen and I start talking to you guys and my plan changes a little bit. So what I think I actually might do is just do a double batch of our cowboy cookies and freeze some of the cookie dough and put it away. I'm in that season of life where I'm trying to double things as I'm just in the kitchen normally over the last couple days, and getting some things in the freezer so that I have them when I need them, because this is our busiest time of year. So I think that's what we're gonna do today. I think we're gonna make cowboy cookies for eating over the next couple of days and put some in the freezer. I'm gonna be making cookies later this week because it's the kids' birthday party and they asked specifically for me to make blossom cookies and M&M cookies. So I'll be doing that later this week anyway. So let's just do a small batch for an after school snack. We're also gonna be making a really quick pudding for lunch boxes for the rest of the week. Today's Tuesday, so I'm just looking for some easy throwaway things to get done kind of really easy, really quickly. Tonight we're harvesting potatoes. We are harvesting off the rest of whatever's in the garden, which is just celery at this point, and trying to wrap some things up. So it's just a quick, easy day in the kitchen, and sometimes those are really nice, especially after having a whole lot of busy canning days. I also have 2 pineapple back here that we'll probably end up cutting up and getting ready to can. I think we'll process it today, get it all chopped up, put it in the fridge, and then maybe tomorrow I'll go ahead and can that up, and then I'll also have that to throw in lunch boxes for the next couple of days. So let's go. We're gonna start with our cookies because that's what's gonna take the longest, and I need to go get my phone so I can have that recipe and we'll get right into it. If you ever hear me talk about a recipe, I get almost all of my recipes off of Pinterest, or at least and become inspired off of a recipe that I see off Pinterest, and I'll tweak it and kind of make it my own. These Cowboy cookies are no exception. We made these for the first time, I want to say back in 2020, maybe 2021, and they're a favorite. We just leave out the walnuts or the pecans, whatever kind of nut is in here. We just skip over that, and it is really, really good. Also, not cooking related, but I know you guys, if you follow me on Instagram, you see what I'm reading a lot because I'll post over there. And I started reading the Court of books. These are fantastic. I read this whole book in, I think, about a week, and I bought this book and A Court of Mist and Fury at the same time from Sam's Club. I figured I'd get the first 2 books, and if I liked them, I would go back and finish getting the collection. Well, I started reading A Court of Mist and Fury not even 48 hours ago. Like tonight it'll be 48 hours, and I'm already like 400 and some pages into it. It is so fantastic. Really, really good. I was in a book slump for a while, so these have been so good to pull me out of that and just suck me right into the world of fairies and elves and all sorts of stuff. I absolutely love that stuff. So if you're looking for a book recommendation, that is my book recommendation. These Court of Thorns and Roses is the first one. So good. Like I said, I really, really loved it. So every time I finish a book, I put it in a pile and I pass it over to my sister, and then she reads, and then she'll give me her books and we just swap back and forth. But so good, so good. I'll let you know when I finish A Court of Mist and Fury. So good. But I am definitely going to pick up the rest of those books. I'll probably have my husband pick those up for me on Sam's Club on his way home one day, because I can't wait. I need to have them for when I finish the second book so I can get right into it because they're so good. At the end of the year during Vlogmas, I do all the books I read this year. So I can link that video down below from last year if you want to see what I read last year. But I have probably triple the amount of books that I read this year versus last year. So that one's going to be a little bit of a long video. But let's go ahead and hop into our cookies. I love this cookie recipe because it's like a typical chocolate chip cookie recipe, but it's just better. It's like a grown-up version of a chocolate chip cookie. There's coconut in there, a little bit of oats. You could definitely throw in a tablespoon or 2 of peanut butter in there. It's not in the recipe, but if you wanted to, you definitely could. So delicious. We are going to start, as always, with creaming together our eggs and our butter, getting that stuff going. But very good. Today's just a little bit more chatty because we're not doing a whole lot today. We're just restocking things, making a very quick cookie recipe. But I do think cup. Also, when recipes tell me to melt my butter, I almost never do. The reason being because baking is just science, and butter has little waters in it, little molecules, and if you keep your butter whole like this and cooled off sticks, those air bubbles, the water kind of expands as you're baking it, creates little air bubbles in your muffins or your cookies, whatever it is, and it makes it just lighter, fluffier. So I never melt my butter, specifically in muffins or breads. I will never melt my butter, but in cookies it's kind of wishy-washy. I think you get a better baking cookie texture wise if you do not melt your butter. So that's just personally for me. I am gonna pull my hair back. This is unsalted butter that my husband bought in bulk when he was working at a food processing plant. It's just a bunch of unsalted butter that I've had in my freezer since then, and I don't always remember to pull it out and have it thawed for when I'm baking, but today I remembered I pulled out 2 pounds, so here we go. I need to do better at making sure I have a unsalted butter ready to go so I can actually start making my way through that unsalted butter. Because this is unsalted butter, and I almost never bake with unsalted butter, but in this case I am, because my husband got it for like, I don't even remember what it was. It might have been 50 cents a stick. I'm gonna add my butter right away because otherwise I'm going to forget, because I just usually cook with, or I bake with salted butter, and then I just don't add the salt into the recipe. And every time I talk about that, I get a lot of you guys saying that you guys actually do the same thing. So there's that. We need half a cup of brown sugar that we went ahead and whipped up this morning. I had some people asking where I got my big thing of molasses from. I got my big thing of molasses. Sorry, I don't know what happened, but I feel like all of my measuring cups just all of a sudden picked up and ran away. I don't know where they are, so I'm working with one. Okay, we're doing a double batch. Okay, so I need 3 cups of this. I got my big thing of molasses from a local Amish shop here. I got it, I think it was $10 and like 25 cents or $10.50 or something like that. And it was well worth it. I use it all the time. And I think that making my own brown sugar has saved me a decent amount of money this year, especially as we head into the holidays and winter, and my baking picks up a whole lot more. Beautiful eggs from the chickens that we got this morning. Whenever I am doubling a recipe, I have to constantly tell myself that I'm doubling it, or somewhere along the line I will forget. Usually with like baking powder or baking soda, I'll forget that I'm doubling it. So I have to keep telling myself that. Okay, we're going to move in with this recipe. One reason why I like it a lot is because it only calls for brown sugar. So it's a good recipe to have in your arsenal for when you maybe are low on white sugar, which I've had happen to me before, but I have lots of brown sugar made up. It's something easy to go ahead and get through. But this is also a cookie where you can just throw the kitchen sink at it and it's going to be delicious. If you had some, you know, the bottom of your pretzel bag and you have just those crummy bits of pretzels at the end, you go ahead and dump that in here. That's gonna be great in here as well. So I love having recipes like this in my back pocket where I can just go ahead and throw whatever I want in this batter and it's going to be delicious. I like to add my flour last with this. I like to put my oats in first, then my just regular all-purpose flour. Once that is in, I'm going to go ahead and throw in some white chocolate chips, some sort of, I don't know if this is semi-sweet or milk chocolate. These are semi-sweets. And then a little bit of coconut. I'm trying to work through this coconut because it's a little bit older. I think I've had that for probably 2 or 3 Christmases ago I bought that. So I'm trying to work my way through it before it gets a little bit too old. Now we are going to go ahead and throw in 3 cups-ish of all-purpose flour. I did start stocking bread flour in my long-term storage, which is something I've never done before, but the very last time I went to Sam's Club, or my husband stopped in to pick me up some flour, one of the two, I can't remember exactly which one it was. He saw that they had bread flour. That's exactly what it was. He stopped in on the way home for me and saw that the bread flour was pretty much the same price as all-purpose, and instead of having him get 2 bags of all-purpose, I got 1 bag of all-purpose and 1 bag of bread flour. And I've had some family members ask me who also do a lot of baking and bread making and things, does the bread flour make a difference? I think it does. I do think it's a little bit hard to explain. I think it is a lighter, fluffier bread, but at the same time is more of a substantial loaf of bread. I've also switched over my pizza crust to bread flour. So there's a couple things that I'm using it for. I'm still kind of playing around with it a little bit, but I am really liking having both on the pantry shelf. As my flour starts to mix in, this is when I'll start dumping in your additives, your pretzels, your potato chips, your baking chips, your coconut, your, you know, at this point, this is just a base of some sort of like a light oatmeal. You could throw in cinnamon in here and raisins and use this base of a cookie recipe as kind of whatever you want, which is actually really cool. I've never thought about doing that before, so I think what I might actually do when I make oatmeal chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin cookies, I might just use this base and throw in some cinnamon and maybe a little bit of nutmeg and my raisins in there. I think that would be delicious. If you wanted to make this more holiday festive, you could throw in Halloween M&Ms, Christmas M&Ms, kind of whatever you wanted, but we are overflowing here. It looks like this was maybe a hair too much. A couple years ago, I invested in this massive pan, and this is just my cookie pan now. Now that my family has gotten larger and larger, we have 4 kids now, I need to invest in more super large pans because for cooking days, like especially making cookies, I need a lot of these. Come Christmas time, we do a lot of handmade Christmas cookie baskets for neighbors and things. I think I need to invest in probably 1 or 2 more of these before the holidays come around. The other thing I finally bought was a cookie scoop, which has made my life so much easier. I've used this a handful of times to scoop out my cookie dough, and it's been very nice just to get them all a uniform size. Otherwise, I've just always rolled them by hand, which is 100% fine. But it is nice to have them all come out the exact same size, the same cooking time. All of that has been very nice. So we're gonna load up this pan. I also have some, what are they called? Like dinner rolls that I par froze in the freezer out in the garage. And I think, well, I know we're gonna have to pull those out and we'll bag those up together and put the rest of this cookie dough in the freezer to par freeze as well. And then we'll start getting some cookie dough balls in the freezer. This is a great way to prep ahead of time for the holidays, because kind of casually on your weekends from now until Christmas, you can make some cookie dough and put it in your freezer, just like we're gonna do today. And come the time for the holidays, you have some homemade cookie dough in your freezer, and you can whip up easy cookies. And it's always really nice to just throw them together, especially as the kids are coming in from outside. You give them a cup of hot chocolate and a nice warm cookie. It's always just really nice. So, or you have neighbors or family that stop by kind of on short notice, you can go pull those cookie dough balls out of the freezer and throw some cookies in the oven and have fresh homemade cookies that you didn't have to dirty your kitchen for. So this is what I'm gonna put in the oven, whatever fit on my cookie sheet here. And the rest of them I think I will put in the freezer, which is great. A couple of videos ago, we came together and we did the exact same thing with some M&M cookies. Those are still in the freezer, those cookie dough balls. So we are getting to the point where we're gonna have a couple different varieties of cookie dough in the freezer, which is great. I love to have that. I love options. That way I can always tell my kids, I have, you know, X, Y, and Z cookie dough in the freezer. What kind of cookie do you guys want for after dinner? And I can just plop, you know, 2 things of chocolate chip cookies, 2 things of oatmeal raisins, some M&M cookies onto a cookie sheet, and we can all have our cookie of choice. But I didn't have to sit in the kitchen and make 4 or 5 different cookie doughs to be able to make that happen. I'm not worried about spacing on this cookie sheet because we are putting it in the freezer. It's not like we're gonna bake these, so even if they're touching a little bit and they stick together, we'll be able to pull them apart fairly easily to put these in just a Ziploc freezer bag and have our little cookie pucks for when we decide that we need them. Okay, I pulled these out of the freezer and they are just completely frozen. They've been in there for I think 2 days. But we are just gonna get a Ziploc bag and we are just gonna label these dinner rolls. And then I will keep this bag as long as I can. Sometimes it ends up getting thrown in the garbage, but I will just, every time I make dinner rolls, I try to just make a double batch, and then I can just par freeze them like this and then just throw the new cookie dough balls, or the new dinner roll balls, right into this bag. And then that way, like tonight we're doing chili. I have cornbread I'm gonna be making, but I didn't have time to make cornbread. It was a meal that I'm just trying to throw together really quick. I can pull these out of the freezer and have these proof and ready to put in the oven in a matter of like 2 hours or so. So these are gonna go in the deep freeze just like this. Nothing fancy, just a Ziploc bag and a Sharpie. That's all you need for this. And these are good to go. This is probably 2 meals worth for my family, which is great. Could obviously do more, but that's my plan. Just every time I make dinner rolls is to do a double batch, try to keep this bag full for days when I really need them. So now this cookie sheet is empty and I still have some cookie dough in here, so I'm just gonna do the same thing and just line this cookie sheet with cookie dough balls, and then these can go in the freezer as well. We're getting close on time here. I've got about another 20 minutes before the kids get home off the bus, and I would like to have all of this done and put my kitchen away, just reset it a little bit. That way it's good to make dinner, because pretty much right after my kids get off the bus, I hang out with them for about 15 minutes and then we move right into making dinner. So I would like my kitchen space to be as cleared off as it can be for when it comes time to actually making dinner. So that is our last cookie dough. I am just gonna get our very last thing taken care of right away, and that is our chocolate pudding. If you watch my grocery hauls, I buy a ton of these boxes every month or two, and we will make snack packs for the kids out of these. I will just put them in little 4-ounce mason jars. However, all of my 4-ounce mason jars are in use right now, so I'm just going to put it in a big Pyrex bowl, and I will dish it out individually into their bento boxes for the rest of the week, which is fine. It's not what I prefer. I really like the mason jars. It's very, very convenient and very nice, but it doesn't always work out like that. So we're just gonna use a good old Pyrex bowl. And these are very simple. I do want to learn how to make pudding from scratch. It's supposed to be very simple and very easy. I just haven't cut the time out to do that. So we're gonna get these whipped up. I need 3 cups of milk. I wanted to cut up that pineapple. That might be something that gets pushed off to tomorrow, which is okay. It was still a decently productive day today. So I like these puddings because they're so simple and easy to make. My kids honestly usually make these themselves while I supervise, and then they stir, and it's good for them. It is just pouring in 3 cups of milk, dumping in my pudding packet, and stirring. I have had people ask me recently, because I switched from the Aldi pudding packets to the Walmart ones. The Aldi ones were just, it didn't matter how much I stirred, even if we mixed it in the KitchenAid, it was always lumpy. And we did not like that. Obviously with pudding, a lot of it is about texture. So I switched to the Walmart ones and we are much happier with them. The texture is very good and the kids are much happier about it. I'm much happier about it. So we will be sticking with the Walmart ones from now on. I still like the pudding, or I still like the Aldi Jello though. That one I haven't had any issues with. I'm going to thicken up as it sits. So I'm just going to set it to the side. We are going to start clearing off our counters here, putting everything away. Really good for me to have a day like this to just kind of reset everything, maybe even do a little bit of baking, just to figure out what I have in stock heading into a heavy baking season for us through obviously the holidays, but just winter in general. We do a lot of baking, so it's good to go through and realize like I'm almost out of baking powder. I should make sure I have that on stock. Like we already talked about it when we went downstairs, but I definitely need to go to Sam's Club and do a bulk kind of pick up from there. I'm running low on pretty much all of my bulk goods, so it's one thing to go down there and look at things, but it's another to kind of go, okay, well, let's really look at it. Let's do a baking day and see what I'm really low on, because sometimes you can go to do a recipe with things that you don't use very often. Like I don't use white chocolate chips that often. I don't have a ton of these heading into the holidays. I'm definitely gonna make sure I need more of these. I am almost out of vanilla. I need to get some more of that when I go to Sam's Club. Just maybe things like cinnamon or allspice, things that I don't use a whole heck of a lot, but for specific recipes. So today was that day to just kind of get everything reset, figure out exactly what I have, what I need, but also we had to do some other things in the kitchen today. We had to do some restocking and some after school snacks and things, and we had to finish up some other projects that we had started a couple days ago. So lots of good things happening today. This is a day where it didn't feel like a whole lot was done. It was like there's not a lot of big tasks to do, especially heading off of garden season where you have bushels and bushels of produce you need to harvest and preserve. A day like this seems very calm, which is a nice day to just hang out in the kitchen. It feels a little bit more relaxed, but we still checked some really important things off of our to-do list headed into winter, which is really, really great. So this pudding is already thickening up wonderfully. All of our stuff here, but I'm just going to pour this right into this Pyrex jar. Normally this is where I would dump it into our 4-ounce mason jars, but because that's not an option for us today, this is going to work just as well. Got these Pyrex Tupperware from Sam's Club. We've gotten 2 cases of them. We absolutely love them. I will be getting a 3rd case when we go. They are fantastic. If you're looking to get rid of plastic Tupperwares, these are so nice. We've even just used these as regular eating bowls, but my husband brings these to work with him in his lunchbox and things. They're fantastic. We put the smaller ones in the kids' lunchboxes. They come in a bunch of different sizes, which is fantastic. They're so nice. So these are fantastic if you're looking for like a Christmas gift or something. These Pyrex ones from Sam's Club are awesome.